Hey, this is Brent Boyer from Adam talking to you. So let's talk divorce. One thing I wanted to look at today is what are the things you should ask a divorce attorney at the initial meeting? So let's go through what the top 10 things are that I think you should discuss with a divorce attorney when you're doing your first meeting, getting a sense of what they're like, getting a sense of what to expect and what a divorce is going to look like. First time you contact an attorney can be overwhelming, it can be intimidating, there can be a lot to it, and you're going to want to talk to an Adam attorney, go through things in detail here. So first of all, common question we'll get is, can I do this without an attorney? I'm facing a divorce case. Is it possible for me to handle this myself? And we will feel free to tell you, if there's something we think you can handle on your own, we'll tell you. If there's something we think you cannot, we tell you that as well. A divorce case is a lawsuit. It's not something you do with your wife, and this ideas of contested and uncontested. That's not really how the whole system is set up in Michigan. So it's a lawsuit. Either you're going to file for divorce or your wife's going to file for divorce. It's not something you're necessarily going to do together, and it's something best handled by an attorney. A lawsuit is best handled that way. You're going to want someone that knows the laws, knows the court rules, knows the system, knows what to expect, and knows what's coming. And it's hard to be held to those standards if you file on your own, if you're trying to handle an attorney. Or, people say, well, we just used my wife's attorney or whatever it is. That's not really what's going on and not really what's going to happen in a typical scenario with a divorce case. Now, if you're, early 20s and have no assets and no kids and you're filling out some paperwork, okay, you might bumble through and eventually get divorced. But if you're anywhere in the spectrum of normal with, I own a house, we have kids, I have a retirement account, I have whatever, you're definitely going to want a lawyer to be aware of those things, be dealing with those things properly, and helping you handle things, making sure your rights are protected, making sure that things are done properly. Even if you have an agreement, making sure that the agreement gets written up properly and that things are handled the right way. So our answer on that one is you're going to need an attorney in a divorce case, typically. So another question you might want to look at is, well, do I need a family law attorney? Do I need somebody who's does a lot of divorce and family law? Can't I just hire any attorney? All attorneys are licensed to practice law, so they're licensed by the state of Michigan to do divorces, so why not just go to my dad's friend, or somebody referred me to this guy at work, or whatever it might be. You're going to want someone that's an expert, someone that does just family law. It's been pretty much the entire time I've been practicing law that the family courts were created. There is an entire separate court system just for family law. And you're going to want lawyers that know those judges, know that system, know the rules, know the laws, and know how things work. If you go to just a jack-of-all-trades type of attorney, you're going to get that type of advice. You're going to get very general sort of ideas and general representation, and not the specific kind of things you need, not the strategy you need, and not the types of answers you're going to be looking for with the minutia of a divorce case and all that's involved with divorce law. So you're going to want somebody that's an expert in that field when you're going forward and looking at a divorce attorney and deciding what to do to start making decisions. Another consideration you want to talk to your divorce attorney about is, what is this going to cost me? So how does cost work? How does it look from the side of expenses? So cost, basically with divorce attorneys, how they all work in Michigan is they work on a retainer. So you pay money up front, you hire us, and you go forward. How much that's going to be depends on the complexity of the case, depends on what we're doing, depends on what county we're in. If we know what judge we have, if we know what issues we have, we try to figure all that out at the beginning. That will all come into play with a decision about what kind of money we need on a retainer. But even a retainer, the money you pay up front, is not a quote of total cost. So it's not going to tell you pay whatever it might be up front. That's not going to tell you what it's going to cost total. It really isn't related to what the total is going to be. So it can be a little deceiving. One lawyer wants less money up front, one wants more. That's not really telling you the total cost. Your better analysis on that is, what's this person's expertise? When they're doing work for me, are they going to be working efficiently because they do this all the time and they're set up for it? Or are they going to be bumbling around because it's my dad's friends, whatever, and they don't know a lot about family law? So you get what you pay for in a long ways with divorce and family law attorneys. You want someone that's an expert. You want somebody that knows what they're doing, that will save you time and money and aggravation as you go forward. So another topic to look at with your divorce attorney and potentially at the first meeting is, what is spousal support or alimony going to look like in the state of Michigan? Am I going to have to pay spousal support? So your attorney can narrow that down for you at the first meeting. That's a function of how long you've been married. It's a function of how much your income is, how much your wife's income is. It's a function of whether you have little kids. If so, child support has to be calculated first. Then you look at, okay, where are we at on things? Is this a spousal support or alimony case? Under Michigan law, alimony is based on 12 different factors. The person paying it, what their income is, the person receiving it, what their income looks like, the person receiving alimony, they're looking at their health, their education, and all these other things. We're also looking at custody, parenting time support, and how that plays into the whole analysis. So alimony is a very loaded kind of a question, but we can narrow it down for you at the first meeting and give you a sense of yes, you'll be paying it, or no, you won't, and if so, what does it look like, how long, how much. Those are questions that your attorney can definitely handle at the first meeting in a general overview sort of manner. So that's another topic. One other topic you might be looking at is how does my wife's behavior affect the divorce? Where does this come into play if I feel like she's the cause for the breakdown, she's cheating on me, or whatever it might be? Well, Michigan's a no-fault state, so that means you don't need a reason to get divorced. But her being at fault or being able to prove she's at fault isn't really the kind of factor that you would think it would be. It's going to be a pretty small consideration typically in your divorce case. It's not zero, but it's probably only 5%. It can have a small effect on property division, who gets what and how much you get, and it can have a small effect potentially on custody, at least as far as what the best interest of the child factors say about it. So it's not a nothing, but it definitely is not going to lead the argument. It's not the type of thing that you would think it would be coming into this. So in general, you want to make your attorney aware of it. If you feel like your wife is at fault for the breakdown of the marriage, or you're at fault, or if someone's cheating or whatever it might be, but it's not going to have the kind of impact that you might think it would. It's usually a very small impact on things. Another kind of question to go over with your divorce attorney is, guy at work tells me my wife's going to get half of everything, and I need to know if that's really true. Well, that's going to depend on how long you've been married, for one thing. Cases are all different. Michigan's what's called a dual property state, so we look at what's marital property, meaning what did we acquire together while we were married, and what's separate property, meaning something I might have owned before the marriage, or money one of us might have inherited during the marriage and we kept separate. That can all be a factor in figuring out who's going to get what as far as dividing up property. Am I really going to lose half of everything? If I'm in a long-term marriage, more than 20 some years, we own everything pretty much together, I can assume that half of whatever we have is mine, half of what my wife has is mine, and we're kind of just going 50-50 on things. If I'm more of a short-term marriage, might not necessarily be the case. Your attorney can tell you what that all is going to look like. They can give you a sense at the first meeting of where that's headed as far as division of property and will I lose half of everything type of a question. Another common question you want to get out of the way in the first meeting is, what is custody and parenting time going to look like? Am I going to lose custody of my children, or is it automatically true that my wife gets custody of the children? Custody is based on a lot of different factors. It's based on how things have been going, what you've been doing in your household so far, whether you're very involved with the kids or not that involved, or whatever it might be. Custody really comes down to an agreement between the mom and the dad for the most part. If there's not an agreement, you're looking at the best interest of the child factors. There's these 12 factors under Michigan law that we look at. But you can get some guidance at the first meeting with your attorney as to what custody is going to look like, what's going to be important, what's realistic, what I can expect as far as custody, parenting time, and those types of things. Another question to hit on just quickly is, what's going on with my house in a divorce? Am I going to have to sell my house? That can depend on a lot of different things. Your attorney can clear that up for you at the first meeting. Are you going to sell the house? Is one of you going to keep it? It just depends on what's going to make sense for your situation, where you're at financially, who's got the ability to make the mortgage payment. Is there a need to refinance it because the mortgage is in both names? Those are all factors that play into this idea of what's going to go on with my house. Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to have to sell my house? So that's also a good thing to get out of the way. You want to know kind of what's the things to be worried about, what things are not to be worried about, and it's good to clear those up at the initial meeting. The last thing that is a good question to clear up, get out of the way, or meet with your attorney at the initial meeting is, what can you do for me that other lawyers can't do? What's the difference? What makes you different? What makes you unique? Well, with the attorneys here at Adam, the difference with us, we've been advocating on behalf of men for over 30 years. I have 23 years of experience doing divorce and family law myself. There's attorneys with our firm that have at least that amount of experience. We're specialists. This is what we do. We're experts in family law, divorce. It's all we know. We handle that type of thing every day. We're in the court system. We're advocating for men. So we know what your side of the case looks like. We know the pitfalls. We know what to expect. We're efficient with our time. That makes us different than everybody else. So I hope that's helped. General overview, that's the first, really the 10 things you're looking at in that initial meeting with your attorney. What should I be asking? Get a sense of where this is going and what to expect. Thanks.